Combat Cardio. Mitchell, you're 27 years old, man. You're starting your own first. This is your first business you started, or is it your first brick and mortar business?
First brick and mortar business.
Okay.
Yeah, I had self-sustained training, which was my personal training, health consulting business that I did leading up to this point, and now I'm sort of transitioning back into the training.
How long have you been full-time with training?
So I started training personal training at like 16, 17 in that transition period when I started thinking about getting my NASM certification. But I didn't really start taking on clients one-on-one as my full-time job until 2020.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a year a lot of people were not taking on clients. So were you doing this in their homes? Were you doing this online?
Most of it was online.
Okay.
Yeah, so I would record videos and I would do like follow-along stuff that was personal to the clients, and I would FaceTime them, Zoom call with them, Google Meet with them, and we would just do as much as we could given the limitations at the time.
Okay. And with that being said, was this picking up because of COVID, because of the shutdown, because gyms were closed? And then did you transition out of COVID doing anything different, or were you just growing that online platform as much as you could at the time?
So initially I was working at a 9 Round, which is a kickboxing sort of facility.
Sure.
And
Who was the, was this Angela's 9 Round? Or is this a different?
no, but I know Angela. That's
Sure.
hilarious.
Yeah.
It's another conversation.
Yeah. One of our first people we ever partnered with here in Kansas City.
So, because again, it's like, she's a former police officer, right? Yeah, so like,
She was in Kearney. She had the one down here. She had a handful of it.
yeah, and so we essentially, that's like the plan, is to follow the effectiveness of what 9 Round was for clients and for members. But it's a non-proprietary way of training. You essentially are using kickboxing as a form of aerobic training, and I was just a personal trainer up until I started working at 9 Round around 2018, 2019.
So you're starting to train, at 16, 17, you start to progress, you start to build a clientele, then you get a job at a 9 Round and then learn what you need to learn there, move on to start training more on your own in 2020. Is that right?
Yep. So when I left 9 Round 2020.
Did you, when you first started personal training, was the goal always to have your own brick and mortar?
Yeah, when I was at 9 Round, I thought I was going to create, I thought I was going to be a franchise owner. I thought that was my whole plan, because that form of aerobic training is just unlike any other form of training that I've noticed with people. It's more biomechanically sound and efficient for how we're designed and evolved to move. Like, we're not designed to be on a bike and do 30 minutes to an hour of just elliptical movements. We're not designed to run 23 miles regularly every day or even bi-weekly.
I'm designed to punch a hole through Jeff's head.
Well, that's where that decompressive outlet, though, that in and of itself is something you can't really get from any other form of working out. That being able to punch things out and really kick things out. And when you do it from a biomechanically efficient standpoint, which they weren't teaching that, and I had to learn that on my own accord, you end up realizing this also complements all of the base biomechanical stuff that'll translate into their lifting, that'll translate into their base daily movements. But it starts with having an exercise program that can complement and mimic those natural movements that we've been designed to essentially, that we've been biomechanically designed to operate from.
Is this why you had to recruit Tiana? Was she getting into fights a lot when she was younger? I gotta know.
No.
You were
I
getting
got
into fights?
I got in 2 fights.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you win?
How old were you when you had these fights?
I was in
She's like, this was
the first
a
time.
month
Could
and
you
a
have gotten
half
arrested
ago.
for these fights?
No, the first time I was in 7th grade, a boy had called me an N-word, B-word on the bus, and I started hitting him.
The combo?
Bold
combo.
move. Cotton, let's see it.
Cotton.
Yeah.
Cotton.
Yeah.
Yes. And then the second time was that same school year with a girl. And it was just silly.
Yeah, Tiana having 3 older brothers, she kind of had enough,
She had some protection.
well, she had enough, like, having to go through trials and tribulations enough in the household. Right?
She got beat on enough as a kid by her brothers that she was ready to fight, you're saying?
Yeah, we could physically hit her, but yeah, technically, metaphorically speaking.
Yeah.
It was probably better that I didn't get into fights.
Yeah. Some pushes and shoves are not swinging.
Right, and that was the extent to which we would be able to.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
holding her
that's-
down isn't really beating her.
Right,
Yeah. I was like, I have an older sister. I definitely got beat up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I have an
we
older
talked
sister-
about
well-
that the other day, though. Like, I didn't really get super physical with my siblings. There was a couple times where, like, my sister may have slapped me, but, like, it really wasn't that deep. Yeah.
And I was telling her, I think it's more indicative of sort of generational, right? Like, how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
36.
So 36. What about you?
37.
Okay, perfect. So like you guys are right in that age range of you can empathize with, we'll call it old school ways of approaching stuff, but you're also hip enough to be able to empathize with the new school approach of things. I was telling Tiana, it's just when you don't play outside and you don't socialize, you don't integrate your socialization through roughhousing and seeing people in person. Most kids nowadays are doing that through video games and through the TV and through FaceTime. And so I was letting her know that, yeah, we were on that transition from us just going and telling our parents rather than dealing with it the way most people had to deal with it for all of human history.
Right.
Which is like roughhousing. Having
right.
figured out the hard
That's
way.
right, yeah.
And that builds character. And
Find
we've
out.
lost that. Yeah, go ahead. F around and find out.
That's right. That was how we all learned. Touching
My
the
kids are
stove.
psychos. I don't know. They all still. I mean,
They all find out.
yeah, they all find out.
So you guys are in a spot where, you know, it's like this is one of the more, I guess, maybe it's a personal question, Mitchell, but a lot of trainers, okay, are building their clientele, and their goal is to move from being an in-person trainer to eventually work themselves out of having to be in person with their clients and really building more of their online. That seems to be
Lower
the trend.
overhead.
Yeah, that seems to be the trend I see. And also just being able to work when they please, right? You've worked really hard since 2020 to put yourself in a position to open this brick and mortar position, to actually put yourself in a position where you need to be in person, right? What made you decide to do it that way? And was there anything to that that makes you feel like there's more value there?
First of all, 200 IQ question. There's an old philosopher named Voltaire that says, judge a man based off his questions and not his answers. And that was a really good question.
Don't.
Don't hype up his ego. My bad.
Do not.
My bad. So I should be hyping up your ego. Like
that?
Oh, yeah. Maybe I'll ask a question. I got a question. I'm Kyle. Sorry, hold on.
Think of a good one. I got you.
What's your favorite color?
Yeah. So essentially, you're right. Most people that are personal trainers, I mean, let's just think of it like this. Most people that are personal trainers already have a genetic enough blessing that they can easily transition into training without that much work, meaning they already have a lot of the hard work taken care of, looking a certain way.
Especially on the online front, though. Especially on the online front. Like before I worked at S2, I was training SST, and it was the implication of I want to be face to face, see you exactly know what you're doing, and as your trainer, like I have a little bit more control, you know, for lack of better terms, of what you're doing. And that allows that person to also establish trust in that dynamic that like they are going to, for lack of better terms, submit to your coaching. And you need that. Whereas like you have a lot more, like there's a lot more room on that leash if you're doing online stuff because there's messiness.
There's no
you don't know
accountability.
exactly what that person's doing.
Yeah. So with my clients, essentially, I noticed, especially during the COVID situation, that I wasn't getting the same results from them because they were on their own accord and it wasn't as effective being online. And so the same laziness that a lot of these social media personality trainers will have is I already look good and it was easy for me to get to this point. Now I have to do enough effort to learn the actual material to then sell a product. Now when I sell the product, I'm still in that ease of me doing the easiest thing, essentially. I don't value things based off of that. Especially being a Christian, I value things based off the merit and the integrity that they operate from. And I personally am not going to waste time training somebody for the sake of getting some financial compensation at the end of it if they're not able to actually manifest what I'm spending my time trying to help them manifest. You're just not as effective working one-on-one with people. So opening a brick and mortar, though it's kind of doing more work than not, especially given that I'd already built that social media platform, it's in the end more effective, not only for the individual, but for the community.
I also think that, you know, when you have an actual location like that, you're taking a long-term, you know, perspective on things, because I do think that there is, you know, a tipping point where, you know, the online training business, it's watered down to a certain point where people eventually are, you know, buying less and less. And I think that's already started happening. Whereas if you have, you know, an online or a brick and mortar spot that's successful, you can eventually open another and another and another, and then maybe eventually franchise it out like 9Round did.
Exactly.
There's a beautiful thing, like Kyle makes a really great point here. We call it like the Wild West, where it's something starts up, it becomes trendy, and it's actually very easy to make money or make enough money to survive off of that, right? And so there's so many people that are obviously selling programs online, so on and so forth. And you see like, hey, I could make money this way, but my thought process is more about what's going to be ideal for the client long term.
Exactly.
What's going to get them results long term. And so when people ask us, hey, why don't you guys sell online? It's like, well, we could, you know, and we know that, but what's going to get them better results long term?
It's also culture, dude. So, when people come into your gym every day and they talk to Susie and Frank and, all these different people that are a part of their, 6 a.m. crew.
That community.
Yeah. It also, it creates the I got to be there for them type of atmosphere.
And think about it. One of the 10 commandments is be kind to thy neighbor. How many of us really know our neighbor?
It's not common anymore.
No,
that's for sure.
And so because we don't know our neighbor, there's been this deterioration of our our community that, yes, it would be a lot easier for me to live in my genetics and just sell things online for the sake of the instant gratification of the financial compensation I could get from it. But is that sustainable, which is what you're talking about, which is why my first company was called Self-Sustained Training. Is it sustainable, and is it actually effective? And being just in person, that interpersonal dynamic is invaluable and irreplaceable.
Especially when you're talking about the communal aspect and the accountability aspect. Those things obviously are added benefits, right? And ironically, I think there's, with the way online training has gone, and to be fair to those who are excelling and doing a wonderful job online with as best as you can do, I think those days of, like we were talking about, the Wild West are starting to really fade, and it's just the market is demanding more of that, right? Just like back in the day, I remember when it was like when you bought a product online, it would take 2 weeks to get to you. And sometimes the stuff just wouldn't show up, and the customer service was very slow. And Amazon really was the first to say, we're going to try to make this as convenient and easy as possible for everybody and make the shipping 2 days, which was unheard of at the time. Nothing was 2 day shipping at the time. So
I think what you said as far as it being complementary is actually opposite. I think what most of the research shows is that you can do a lot of different training styles and people will see pretty good results from it if they believe in the underlying community that's there, right? So it's like what that's saying is that though the training aspect of it needs to be well thought out, well executed, the real thing that is the most important in that is that you're creating a community where people feel included, where people like going.
Obviously getting results.
That's why CrossFit, they always say it's the best hour of your day. That's like their tag, is because they're trying to basically get people to focus on hey, this should be a fun hour. If it's not a fun hour, if you're making somebody come do something that sucks and the people don't like, well, they're not going to they're going to stop coming.
Well, that's why the combat cardio aspect is something that I always joke with Tiana and always joke with my fiance that the moniker of combat cardio is it's the funnest form of cardio. And unless you've experienced it, there's nothing like being able to not only punch and kick things out, but doing it the right way where it complements your body in terms of decompressing all of the asymmetries and all the chronic issues that they may be dealing with that a lot of gyms don't even know about addressing, let alone addressing it before they implement them in their program. So let's say you have a cycling circuit, right? Let's say it's a 30-minute to an hour cycling circuit. If a client, majority of Americans, let alone humans, have an anterior pelvic tilt to begin with, they already have that APT, anterior pelvic tilt. I'm dyslexic, so I always flip that in adenosine triphosphate. A client, a member that goes into those gyms, if they already have an exacerbated anterior pelvic tilt and now they're working in a seated position on this bicycle, you're potentially exacerbating the asymmetries and the chronic pain that they have. But are they even aware of that? Are they aware of the postural implications of their biomechanics when executing a bicycle movement or a row movement? Probably not. And so I don't really blame these other companies for it not being potentially as fun, which something like CrossFit, I think it's more fun because it's a more functional version of lifting. And that functionality complements how we're designed to move. Boxing, kickboxing is the same sort of thing. You're moving in a way where the throwing of a punch is very emblematic of the throwing of a spear, throwing of a rock. So that throwing mechanic is inherent in the human physiology. So when you're able to transfer that into a aerobic exercise, the fun just kind of comes along with it.
Yeah. Sure.
And that builds that community, kind of like you guys are talking
Plus, you get the benefit of the endorphin rush that you get after doing a cardio workout, that once you become in good enough shape that you just stop dreading it, it becomes addictive.
It becomes the outlet you're looking for that mental and emotional decompression, which is what I found with my members when I was at 9 Round that I never experienced with any other members before or any other clients before. It was this I'm able to articulate the mental and emotional decompression that I'm getting out of this because it's that obvious with how good you feel afterwards.
You have, we were mentioning 9-round. There's other forms of, boxing. There's jiu-jitsu. There's things that, I think combat cardio is a generic term, is increasing in popularity in some capacity, right? You also have, I'm drawing a blank. Oh no.
Title boxing.
Thank you. Title boxing. So what would somebody who has taken a 9-round class or has taken a title boxing class, what should they expect when they come into combat cardio?
So we operate off a 10-round system. It's going to be 3 minutes each. The difference really between us and any of our competitors is our holistic approach to health. You have qualified coaches in there that understand how to fix your nutrition. You have qualified coaches in there that before you even throw a punch are going to help correct your posture. The whole point of it is to be a holistic one-stop shop. If your main goal is I have to get into the gym. If somebody's like, I just have to get into the gym, they don't know what workout program to do. They don't know what exercises they're supposed to execute, even if they have a workout program. They don't really know if they're doing them the right way. Those gyms offer one thing that no other gyms really do, which is having a coach there all day, every day, no matter what. The difference is we have qualified coaches that actually know the totality of what it means to get people healthy.
I love that, man. You guys have you're in the midst of building it out still, correct?
Yeah. Well, we got it
Almost
essentially.
done.
We're
Yeah.
essentially finished. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So do we have a pending open date?
Yes. You want to go ahead?
Well, we have a soft opening.
Sure.
I'm super excited about this. The soft opening is going to be October 19th. And so that's where we'll have five exclusive classes that 50 individuals can sign up for, 10 per class. And that is just a exclusive. You get to get your first workout here. This will be the first people that get to experience all 10 stations with Mitchell and I running them. And that will be the prelude to the grand opening, which is
I think November 2nd. Yeah. No, I think cut that. November 2nd.
November 2nd. And I'll have an Eventbrite link, so that way the first 50 people that hear this and want to sign up for class, you lock in your spot.
And what it is, it'll be 45-minute classes. So most of these gyms are going to be, most of our competitors are around the 30-minute mark, but our workout time is the exact same. The difference is we emphasize stretching, again, through the postural correction, and we also allow the freedom to kind of linger around and ask those questions on the nutritional side, or really the lifestyle side that is outside of the gym workout itself.
During these exercises, how much coaching is going on in the midst of the class, and how much is it everybody's just like listening to music and going through those motions?
At the beginning, for every new member, they have to develop what the system is. And the system is, you have to essentially start developing an understanding of just basic concepts. So you have to know what a jab is. You have to know what a cross is. You have to know the number system with it. And when you're first there, the first few sessions is teaching you all that stuff.
Onboarding.
But exactly, the onboarding. So what you'll have, though, is at each round, you have a whiteboard that essentially tells you exactly what workout you're supposed to do. And if you're not familiar, the coach will come over, walk you through it, actually help you execute it the right way. But the idea is no different than, and this is why they didn't like me over there at 9-round, because I was teaching these people to not need the trainer. The idea is you'll be able to come in, get a complete, total workout in without a trainer if you wanted, because some people don't like having someone do mitts with them. Somebody just doesn't like having a trainer there.
Sure.
But we at least educate you to do everything the right way.
I love that.
So do you guys have
So it's open gym possibilities.
It's open
rolling
gym.
classes.
It's open gym, but it's rolling classes.
Okay.
Yeah.
so do you guys have like punching bags that
yeah.
people are hitting?
Oh yeah.
And then you also have stations with mitts?
Yeah, so we'll have a single station with mitts. Depending on how many people are in there, depends on how I can get around to everybody. Or eventually, if we end up having 2 trainers, you'll have a trainer always doing mitts and another trainer kind of helping more with the functional side of stuff.
Yep,
That's like the
navigating
second time
through
I
it.
hit that.
Navigates through it all.
Navigate through it all. So, yes, you'll always have a trainer there who is essentially making the call outs for just the rounds, transitioning, next round, all that sort of stuff. But mainly they're there to keep you accountable, no different than the sort of one-on-one training you would have if you paid somebody for an independent session.
But going back to what you talked about earlier, combat cardio is kind of a large blanket statement of what that entails. So there is a Muay Thai bag that you'll be able to kick on and punch on, and then speed bag, and then regular bag, right?
Yeah, we have Muay Thai bags.
Regular bag, like a heavy bag.
Heavy bag.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we have Muay Thai is going to be more kicking and punching. So you're going to have a Muay Thai round where you'll have 2 different long, heavy Muay Thai bags.
So these are like kind of like a skinnier long bag.
Exactly.
Yep.
Is that what you see more like a at like Tidal?
Yeah, you'll
Like
see.
I see like they have like kind of like a longer skinnier
Exactly.
bags.
And
Yeah, I'm
that's-
learning what a Muay Thai bag is right now. So.
Also, yeah, the ability to kick those is more conducive for that form of fighting, Muay Thai, kickboxing. But we'll also have a station around with just boxing. We'll probably have 2 specific boxing rounds. One will be this bigger, wider, heavy bag. The other one will be this water bag that you can kind of hit, manipulate. People love aqua bags, hitting them because it's so fun to just like the feeling of when you make contact with them. We'll also have a reflex bag and then a speed bag. So we have all the fun aspects of what you would do if you were going to be a boxer or a kickboxer going into the gym. It's like, coach wants me to throw 1,000 punches, but I want to hit the speed bag. Coach wants me to do this, but I want to do that. We got all those fun equipment, put it in a more controlled setting where when you come in, you're able to execute it with efficiency.
So again, you're going to have rolling classes, which means people can just come in anytime.
Anytime. Yeah. People can come in anytime. There will always be a trainer on staff in the gym. If you come at 8:34 in the morning versus 3:35 in the afternoon, no matter what, when you walk in, you're able to start your class without having to schedule anything, and the trainer will always be there.
Man, that's wonderful.
Were you into fighting at all before starting at 9 round?
Yes.
Yeah. It was mainly for like self-defense stuff. Yeah, things happen like in middle school, high school. I was a loudmouth and ended up having to like get checked a few times.
Man, I was going to say, Tiana, we just went all this time. We just didn't even talk about all your classroom fights.
Did you turn that into? Did you go to a boxing gym or anything like that?
I initially had a teacher who kind of showed me basic stuff in a back room. It sounds very sus, but like during our flex time, he was kind of showing me, hey, this is how you throw a jab, this is how you throw a cross, showing me basic stuff. And I kind of took that and just started doing my own due diligence. I mean, the term autodidact, which just means self-taught, is so undervalued nowadays. But when you have the internet, oh my goodness, the capability for you to be able to learn stuff on your own merit is almost infinite. So yeah, for the next few years after that, that was about 16 years old. From 16 to 18, I was just enthralled with combat sports, and I was watching a bunch of Muay Thai, going through online classes from like the 90s where I'm following along and stuff. Like it was a journey of self-discovery through
Billy Blanks.
Ty Bo.
That's right. You remember Billy Blanks? Yeah, dude. All the old people are laughing right now.
We're old. We're old, dude. My stepmom had some Ty Bo.
Oh, was that like some TV training stuff? Okay.
You know, shit was going down when the table in the living room was moved.
That's right.
You knew it was going down.
He was doing double time. That was this phrase for everybody try harder.
Yeah.
Gotcha. You see, but like P90, you guys remember P90X?
Oh, yeah.
Like
Sean T, dude.
Sean T. So that sort of stuff, right? It's like that form of aerobic training. Studies are proven that VO2 max training is the most efficient in terms of high intensity interval training. But finding an outlet of high intensity interval training that you enjoy, I have found to be the biggest struggle with most of my clients.
Sure.
And as soon as they put on those gloves, as soon as they really understand how just good it feels to go through that sort of a workout, it's irreplaceable.
Man, you are super articulate. Have you thought about doing like anything like that, where you're doing any kind of like recording yourself and
Public speaking of any sort?
Yeah.
I was going to run for the Clay County Health Board.
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
I was going to do that last year, but
I'm talking about like Billy Blank stuff, dude. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Like selling some kind of course like that.
But this all goes back down
what,
to
Tiana?
Yeah,
Wait,
he
you
doesn't-
step on a man's
Talking about
dream.
No,
instructing.
he can do it. I know he can do it, but this is the thing. Like Mitchell and I are like the yin and the yang, right? Like if it was, Mitchell's the hermit and I'm the one that's like out there. You know what I'm saying? So if anybody's gonna do any type of like Sean T, get on and like
Tip from T.
yeah, you know what I'm
from
saying?
T.
Like I'm doing that. Mitchell, like I love you, but you're just not doing that. And we know that about each other though.
And that's where, I'm aware that I need to do more in terms of providing value for the company by me being the presence and offering these workouts and doing all that stuff. But when you have 6 people a day that you're giving an hour and a half to, you're doing stuff online, there was just not enough time in the day to really put out that social media content. But this goes back to what we talked about earlier. Why do most people put out that social media content in the first place? Yeah. Because their goal is to eventually not have to work. Mm-hmm. I don't feel like it's working when I'm giving clients the sort of value that they're able to get through our training.
A small reframing of that would be just how many people do you want to impact?
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
I'm just saying.
But I will say
if
this:
you impact them from the beginning to get them in your door, then you can make the impact that you want to make with
point.
them. But I'm just saying what the thing that, this is my 2 cents, it could be worth 0 cents. But the content that you create, if you do it in a way that you think honors your own values as far as a brand and as a company and you as a person, obviously, that gets to live online forever. And so like, you don't have to come up with the same passion every time you have that conversation. Luckily, it was already recorded.
That's a good point. Yeah, 2 cents taken for sure, brother. Because that's something that I'm already aware of. Once the gym is up and running and we're able to put some autonomy behind it, the idea is I'll have more time. I mean, even during the day when members aren't in there, it'll give me time to be able to record content.
Well, you're also going to give, that there's a little bit of imposter syndrome that always comes in, and I shouldn't infer that, but there's a little bit of imposter syndrome when you haven't provided proof of concept yet for the masses to see.
For sure.
And so, like when we first started doing this podcast, right? Me and Carl were like, man, does anybody even want to listen to us? Like, why would anybody even care what we think? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's like at that point,
I knew people would want to hear my opinion on things.
he's full of shit. But the bottom line is, like, we just get to a point where you're like, dude, you got to start somewhere, right? And so, man, I think you're.
I do think that your mindset though, when you open a business, it is good to be laser focused on what you are specifically trying to do, because everyone's seen the business where it's like, you're in a gym business, like you guys are starting up, and then all of a sudden you're selling CBD, and then you're like, you're doing all these weird things where you're like trying to like figure out ways of like increasing revenue instead of just being the absolute best at why you
providing
open the
actual value.
And the product, and that's the thing, I knew with my training itself, I couldn't provide a valuable training product unless I was able to dedicate the time and due diligence it deserved.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, man. You're like I was saying, like your gift was with your articulation, but also your passion. And your ability to take complex ideas and put them into very easy to understand canned answers is a real gift. And so it's just a matter of time, but make sure you are recording the things that you're passionate about and what makes your guys' training so different, because at the bare minimum, it's going to bring people into your door to at least try out.
200 IQ.
Yeah.
I like it. Say it again, brother.
You guys, we really appreciate taking the time. It was really great to get to know you. Awesome. T, we love you. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate
Is there going to still be tips from T?
There will still be tips from T. Yes,
okay.
absolutely.
All right.
Love it. Last thing I'd ask for you guys, and it's what we ask everybody here, where are you bringing people to barbecue here in Kansas City? Your guys are born and raised in this area, right?
Why don't you go first, Deanna?
Yes, to think about it. I'm for sure going to Slaps, 100%.
Yeah, well,
it's a good call.
Her kind of expressing how I'm a hermit. I've been to like Gates once, and I've never been to any other place really. So,
well, okay. If you're how about if somebody's just going out to eat in Kansas City? Where are you gonna pick? What's your spot?
I'm hitting up my fiance's dad, and I'm saying, give me a spot that's got real good barbecue. What do you think? To be honest, that's the thing. He's
going to homegrown.
She's so on point with, I'm so laser focused on what I need to do with regards to like the quote unquote work, that all the play will come. All the play will come. And as a result, throughout the entirety of my 20s, I've sacrificed the ability to know where the good barbecue spots are in Kansas City.
Sure. I didn't know if you just had like a restaurant you go to when you're on the fly. Not even Chipotle?
Well, I like Longboards. Longboards is cool.
Longboards is great.
I love Longboards.
That's a KC local spot.
Oh, yeah.
What's your go-to order there? There's like 50. Dude, it's paralysis by analysis in there. When I go into Longboards, I'm just overwhelmed with too many choices, and they start throwing things together that I never thought would be on the same sandwich. They're like, you want some crab / beef / chicken
with some egg whites in there.
Yeah, all with hard-boiled eggs, like all on one wrap. And you're just kind of like, dude, that's a lot of different combos. I'm like afraid.
I don't even
to
know
try
if I've had Longboards.
I get the same thing every time.
But those so many things, but it's so good.
The OG 2-4 wrap is my go-to. Take the rice out, throw in some extra steak, get some Chipotle ranch, and we're good to go.
Yeah, I mean, see, he's a veteran. He gets it. All right, hey. Tell everybody where to find you. Combat Cardio is due to open on November 1st, 2nd.
November 2nd.
November 2nd, soft opening October 19th. Make sure to check them out on their social medias, which are, Mitchell?
So Combat Cardio KC will be the actual social media for our business page. My personal page is mitch.tomson. That's mitch.thompson. You can check everything out on those socials. Self-sustained training on YouTube. I mean, you'll be able to find me.
T-Bait?
T-ball-T.lifestyle. Yeah, girl.
Man.
Yeah, we never even talked about the Crohn's. That's another.
We didn't even talk about those shades.
Yeah.
Where'd you get these glamour shots, dog?
They need to make a sugar fire in Kansas City. They need to bring that to KC, please.
I just want you to know that T-Ball T was today years old when I read it like that. I've been saying T-Bait my whole life.
Dyslexic, you thought the L was an I.
It's just how I read it.
T-Bait?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Nothing.
Somebody else thought it was T-Balt. I'm like, no, T-Ball T.
No,
It's
man.
a college nickname.
Just T-Bait. That's what I've been calling her my whole life.
I don't know what that sounds
Some
like.
people call me
T-Bait.
I used to be Jay Wasserman. People were like Jwasserman.
Jwas.
And I was like, it's just an initial, man. It wasn't that hard. And people would be like, oh, dude, aren't you Jwasserman?
Wasserman.
And I'm like, yes, I guess if you just read it
Nobody
like that,
ever
you're
called me by my Instagram handle, so I guess that
because
just means
it's because it's difficult to
Take
say it out
homes?
loud
comes.
because it's comes.
Is it really?
Interesting.
Well, I mean, like read it, dude.
Oh, okay.
His whole life, but he's always had bigger shoulders and everybody he's ever tried to. You can't really make fun of Kyle because he'd beat you up back then.
Yeah.
He was a bouncer when I met him. Like
I'm
literally.
mean.
Especially when we get you on that combat cardio, my guy. We'll really get you right. Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Let's go.
Kyle's only like 10 years removed from curb stomping people as a bouncer. So
Interesting.
no one had the balls to be like, hey, aren't you, don't try to church it up,
10
son. Don't
years-
you mean Kyle comes?
10 years ago, I was 27 and I was removed from doing the bouncing thing for probably like 3 or 4 years by that point. So it's probably 15
Drops in the
years
bucket.
ago.
There you go.
Drops in the
15
bucket.
years ago.
Actually,
10 or 15 are the same at this point.
It's a lifetime ago.
It's true. Anyways, guys.
Thank you, guys.
We appreciate your
Yeah, thanks
time.
for having us.
Awesome. We're looking forward to checking out Combat Cardio.
yep.
Talk to you guys soon.
Sounds good.